Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation on John Chrysostom. The reason I chose John Chrysostom is that I wanted to choose someone I knew nothing about. John also had a pretty staggering reputation about him, and he seemed to be a wealth of wisdom. And my Greek professor Tim says that John Chrysostom is his favorite Christian writer, so I had to see what all the fuss was about. So without further ado, here's my presentation overlaid onto a time-lapse of a drawing I made of John Chrysostom. Enjoy! John Chrysostom was a father of the early Greek Church, born around 347 AD and living for 60 years. He was born in Antioch and was raised by a single mother. Receiving an education from one of the best Greek professors of his day, he gained a superlative grasp on the Greek language at a very early age. In his teens, John met a bishop named Meletius, along with some other monks. He was soon after baptized and began reading for the priest in his local church. Shortly after that, he decided to follow the monks out into the desert in the outskirts of Antioch. There he remained in monastic devotion for many years. He returned to the city to regain his health due to its deterioration over the years of intense asceticism. He took up his position again as lector in his church, was promoted to deacon, and then later to priest. He oversaw that church for a while, and his talent for preaching was noticed by the emperor of his time. The emperor summoned him to Constantinople one day, without reason. When John arrived, he was ordained Bishop of Constantinople. This office was among the top 3 ranking church offices at the time. John was ordained bishop nearly against his will, though he did accept, and he spent the remainder of his time in ministry as the Bishop of Constantinople. After several years in the bishopric, he was plotted against and exiled twice by the emperor's wife, and during the second exile, he passed away. Chrysostom's recorded works consisted of over 500 articulate and eloquent homilies in which he taught through one book at a time. He is also responsible for catechetical materials and letters to friends and members of the church. His homilies are based in the Literalist tradition, reading scripture for what it says, and then explaining logically the tricky parts of the text. He would end most of his homilies in an exhortation towards virtuous Christian living. Even if the scripture seemed to have no moral teaching attached to it, he would slowly extract a moral, and impressively, the segues are fluid if not seamless every time. He is best known for his preaching. His last name, Chrysostom, is not a family name, but rather a meld of the 2 Greek words, chryso and stoma, meaning gold and mouth. His moniker is thus John the Golden-Mouthed, and his name is well-deserved. Along with preaching exquisitely, he also had an extreme appreciation for silence and solitude. In his 50th sermon on Matthew, he says, "For what purpose does he go up into the mountain? To teach us that loneliness and retirement is good when we are to pray to God. With this view, you see, he is continually withdrawing into the wilderness, and there often spends the whole night in prayer, teaching us earnestly to seek such quietness in our prayers as the time and place may confer. For the wilderness is the mother of quiet. It is a calm and a harbor, delivering us from all turmoils." His heart was changed in the desert, and he reflected on his time as a monk with an enthusiastic gratefulness. He once said that the priesthood was nothing like the monastic life. The monastic life, he said, was filled with men content in the Lord and unburdened by life's worries. Their schedules were rhythmic and easy, and their spiritual lives were unbridled. He warns monks considering the priesthood not to consider the one holy office as similar to the other. In this he alludes to the life of a priest being busy, unstructured, and chaotic, such as his life most likely was. Finally, he cared a lot about the family unit. He saw the Christian family as the most important element in a growing child's potential for accepting the gospel. Because John saw education in the church as so important, he also was the author of many catechetical works designed to help the church teach families more about Jesus. He took to heart the burdens and troubles of his flock, and recognized that the lay people had a hard time maintaining the regular pillars of spiritual discipline he experienced in the monastery. And so his preaching was geared toward applicable virtue, and not abstract theories or ascetic regime. He is quoted as saying in his second homily on Matthew, "You will say, I am not one of the monks, but I have both a wife and children, and the care of a household. Why, this is what has ruined all, your supposing that the reading of the divine scriptures appertains to those only, when you need it much more than they." He made the concern of the everyday man his own, and preached that weekly. John Chrysostom is considered one of the hierarchs of the early Greek church. We have more written works from him than any other Greek father. He gained fame not by concocting apologies for heretical attacks on the church or for shaping major doctrine, but rather for his humble yet powerful preaching. His work went on to influence great men of faith, such as John Cassian, Bonaventure, Thomas Aquinas, and Gregory the Great. He cared for the purity of his flock, the sanctity of the soul, and the life of the family, and his life was like a living, sweet, and heartfelt sacrifice to the Lord. In the end, he died because of his righteousness, for rebuking a noble woman for her way of life. He knew what was right, and he never let the consequences of speaking out stop him from doing so. And that is a testament to the life and faith of John the Golden-Mouthed. John's last words were, "Glory be to God for all things." If you would like to research more about John Chrysostom, please take a look at the following resources, as they have been most helpful in me gaining insight and understanding into his life and works. Thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day.